Well, hello, my friends. I am excited to be here with Jaymes Sime. He is the president and CEO of Child Saving Institute. We are talking about something really exciting that just kind of was announced recently. But first, Jaymes, thank you for joining me today.
Absolutely, Andy. I'm happy to be on, and I'm excited to talk about our exciting news.
All right. Well, before we start about this new capital campaign, let's just talk about Child Saving Institute and just give us kind of an overview of the mission and the organization.
Yeah, so we were excited last year. You know, we celebrated a birthday, but when you're an organization, every year you're celebrating a birthday, but last year was a big one. So providing services in the community for over 130 years. Doing many different programs and services. And I think, like most nonprofits, you know, we're really diving into our 2022 data and the amount of need that we had seen and those that we're serving. And, you know, I think it's good that we are there to respond to the needs of children and families. But our initial look at our data shows that it was the largest number of children and families that we had impacted in the last 15 years. And so, you know, lining up with what we're wanting to do with expansion, because the need is certainly there, and we're trying to be ready as an organization to meet that need how we can through mental health services, child welfare, early childhood education, our prevention services out in the community, and the youth that we work with in our juvenile justice program.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different kind of arms to what arms, legs, or what you want to call it, to what your organization does. It really impacts so many families and individuals across the board. So we are going to talk about a capital campaign that really it was like within the last 30 days or the last 6 weeks. I mean, it's been really recent. So a campaign for hope. So I'm going to let you kind of take it away.
Yeah, and really, it's been years in the making before that, Andy.
Sure.
You know, we're fortunate as an organization to have a location at 46th and Dodge, but that also creates some challenges if you're talking about expanding programs and services, and if you're needing additional property to do that. So the foresight of previous leadership, our board of directors, has allowed us to acquire some property. That's happened over the last few years. And then last year, 2022, was a deep dive into planning and saying, you know, what are those services where we're seeing an increased demand, and we feel ready and equipped as an organization to step in and meet a portion of that community need. And then bringing in our project partners and saying, hey, these are the things that we're talking about. Help us get a feel around the square footage that we would need, and help us develop a budget. And so that's been the last 13 months of planning. And then to your point, we went public in December once we hit a magic threshold of 60% on the fundraising goal. We didn't want to get out ahead of that unless we knew that we had the supporters. And as usual, the Omaha community, even in challenging time, continues to step up to support nonprofits so they can continue to provide amazing services to the community.
Yeah, like you said, I know that at making that announcement, and there's so much work and there's so much dedication and community support that really takes months and years before that announcement. So, well, let's talk a little bit. You know, we touched on this, but I mean, the campaign for hope, again, originated from a need, and talk to us a little bit more about that, and then the timeline of the project, which you did. But is there anything else you can specifically say to that?
Absolutely. And so, yeah, as an organization that does multiple different programs and services, we had to decide which ones were most critical in need and how much square footage they need. And so we really looked at a few core programs: our early childhood education center, our adolescent and pediatric mental health services, and our youth shelter were really the three areas that we looked at that were programs that needed additional square footage to provide quality services. And so that's where we really started the planning. And so expanding our youth shelter is a core part of that, getting a dedicated classroom, recreation space, making that sure that that shelter is trauma informed. Same thing with our mental health services program, expanding the square footage so we can have the clinicians to meet the demand that we're seeing with our wait list. Similarly to early childhood education, we have, oftentimes it's, you have to be planning even before you're considering expanding or starting your family, because early childhood education locally and nationally is a challenge to get access to, and specifically high quality early childhood education. So those are the programs we really honed in on, and timeline took a lot of years to acquire the property, and we're really excited. We went public in December. We hope to start work on our west parking lot as soon as the weather allows this spring, so March or April. And then we're hoping if we can get to that 80% fundraising threshold by July or August, we'll come back and basically start on the addition, which is a big part of what we're doing, as well as coming back through the current facilities and doing a renovation.
So what I think I'm hearing you say too is that you were planning this. Was this even before the pandemic hit?
Yeah, I mean, there was conversation about the needs of certain programs and services. And as you very, very well know, the pandemic really highlighted some service gaps. And I think mental health services and early childhood education, both of those services have seen increased demand on the early childhood side of things. Unfortunately, some early childhood centers closed permanently due to the pandemic and the difficulty of maintaining operations. And with pediatric and adolescent mental health services, there's always been a need out there that far exceeded the community's capacity to provide that service. I'm excited that CSI is expanding their service. I'm also excited that our partners and friends at Community Alliance and Children's Hospital and the other different nonprofits and service providers in the area are also looking at that need. It's really going to take all of us to earnestly provide that safety net for children and families in our community.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk a little bit about who is helping chair the project. I mean, who are the people, like, now that the announcement is made?
Yeah,
go for it.
Two forces of nature who have long histories with CSI. So Melanie Hecker, which has a personal story that's very close to CSI. She will tell it far better than I am, but she, was adopted through CSI, has been on our board, has been on our guild, has been on our foundation board, has chaired fundraisers, has really been a piece of the fabric and glue of CSI for a long time.
Yeah.
And then Cindy Hyder as well, over 20 years of volunteerism to CSI, starting in a program that she says was, back then we called it the Mama and Me program. Today we call it the Teen and Young Parent program. But the same kind of thing, has been on our board, has been on our foundation board, has chaired our events. And so Melanie and Cindy are kind of rocking this thing in the community as co-chairs, and can speak to the mission from a very, very deep personal lens as well. So it's been great. That's why we've had the success we've had. And the community is responding in an awesome way. So it's been really heartening to see that all take place.
Yeah, I know both of those ladies personally, and they definitely can step up and get things done, as they've done many times. But I know the passion of CSI that they have. So yeah, I don't know. I couldn't think of two women more appropriate or more dedicated.
Yeah, you can't really write the story for better advocates for our mission, because it really is, just look at the history and time that they put in. And the number of calls, emails, meetings that we've had over the last 15 months to make sure that we get to that 60%. Like you said, you go public, and if you don't dig into the details, people say, oh, well, that's nice. There's a lot of time that goes into that, a lot of relationships, a lot of late hours. And so it's really nice to have such amazing volunteers who really, I don't have to force them to say great things. They love CSI for all the right reasons, and it's been fun. It's been fun.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit. So we've talked about you're hoping to have 80% by the summertime.
Yep.
And then looking ahead to that, further out than that, can you give us a little bit kind of more of a schedule or what you're hoping to happen?
Yeah. So yeah, first and foremost, we're going to maintain all of our programs and services and operations while we're doing this, which is critically important to the needs of those children and families. And so by the time we start construction, July or August, it's going to take around 15-ish, and I'll say ish, as you know. These projects and these schedules, once we get it really hammered out, that is the schedule we're going to stick to. But at this point in time, I'll say ish. So you should see late 2024, early 2025. Everything should be done. But over the course of that 15 months, we're going to start with the addition. And so there'll be about a 57,000 square foot addition to our building. Wow. The goal is to complete a lot of that work. And then once that work's complete, we'll move some of our programs and services in as soon as we can get approval to do so. So you'll see our youth shelter move over to that new facility. You'll see our outpatient mental health services move over to that facility. And then we'll come back and we'll go through the existing building, the roughly 50,000 square foot that we're going to update. And some of that is more extensive renovations, and some of that is just paint, lights, carpet, all the things that, over, 17-ish years of providing services need a little TLC. So we're using this opportunity to get some of that right. So hopefully we are celebrating with the community at the latest first quarter of 2025, hosting open houses, bringing you in and, showing you the space. But even before then, we're going to start providing services in that new space as soon as we're able to, because frankly, we need the space available to renovate, and the community has a demand for those services. So we're trying to get everything online as soon as it's possible.
So I think I'm understanding. You see that the building that you're in now, that opened up 17 years ago.
Roughly, right? So 2007-ish, it was a kind of a phased renovation. This building really is going to become, I don't know, it's a transformer building. It was the old Safeway grocery store. Yeah. In 2007, we expanded the footprint of this building, and now we're expanding it again. So, it's interesting, but we're due for a renovation just from being in this facility. And then as we're expanding certain programs and moving things around, just the adjacencies and the needs of those programs, our front door literally will change, right? So no longer will our front door be at 46th and Dodge. We will have an entrance off of Douglas Street, which we think that's an enhancement. Our front parking lot can get a little tricky during busy hours, and we think we have a nice pickup and drop off for our families using our early childhood education center, nice access for those folks using our outpatient pediatric and mental health services. So we think not only are we expanding services, we're getting some of those access pieces that were a little tricky right as well.
Yeah. And I think I bring that up too about, because I remember 2007, and I remember, I remember being there and photographing and as things kind of continued to unfold and the different pieces that you added. So, wow, this is really exciting. And again, for the community, and also just for that you're going to be able to help so many more. And, when you have a waiting list, like you said, you want to help those people, but sometimes you just logistically can't. So Yeah,
You absolutely need the facilities. We are really excited, to expand the Mary Holland campus, and
yeah,
the Hollands is part of that expansion in 2007. They're part
yeah,
of this expansion now. But you're right. We need the facilities to provide the services for those programs and services that we're growing. Absolutely. And so it takes you got to pay attention to that, and it again, thoughtful leadership on behalf of CSI's
yeah,
part to acquire properties over the course of years. Some of those were multiple years worth of conversations, even
yeah.
to get to the point of acquisition, because acquiring property on Dodge is complex, and
Mm, I
it's
can't
very
even imagine.
very valuable real estate, and we want to make sure that we take advantage of that location for the children and families we serve. Being on the orbit line is very important. Being near where the city is planning additional transportation infrastructure, hopefully that really positions CSI strongly to make our services accessible to anybody who needs them.
Yeah. Well, we have about a minute left. Uh, Talking a little bit about the partners working on the project. I mean, we talked about Melanie and Cindy. Other partners you'd like to give a shout out and say a little bit about?
Yeah, absolutely. We've been really excited to be working with our friends over at TAC Architects, Kiewit, Project Advocates. They've been great on the project team. We brought them all together pretty early on, so everybody had their arms around it. And then, the community as a whole, right? You don't get to 60% of $46 million
Wow.
without a lot of people stepping up and partnering and believing in our work. And that's what really we're going to need to push this thing over the edge. So it is, we are a nonprofit. We view that's a community resource, and the community has responded, and we have a great team that's working on the actual project and a great community that's helping support us.
Well, I do want to ask you this question before I let you go. How can the community that we just heard the announcement, how can we learn more, and then how can we get involved?
Absolutely. The best way is just to drop into our website, childsaving.org. You'll be able to find all sorts of information about CSI, about the Campaign for Hope. And if you have questions, people can reach out to me specifically, our marketing director, Chelsea Haas. Either of us would be happy to bring you in for a tour, sit down for a conversation,
Yeah.
hop on a virtual meeting. So really go to our website, childsaving.org, and click around, reach out, just ask the question. We would welcome anybody who's curious.
Well, we'll continue to update viewers and readers as as things progress. And then again, once the big celebration and the opening, and you're inviting, the community in, we will definitely be celebrating with you at that time as well. So
yeah. Hopefully we're 4 or 5 months away from groundbreaking, which is it's exciting, very exciting. Thank you so much,
yeah.
Andy.
Yeah, Jaymes, thank you so much. And again, folks, childsaving.org to learn more information. I encourage you to go there and learn about the campaign and then other events they have going on throughout the year. So, Jaymes, thanks again. So great to see you.
Thank you, Andy.
And folks, we will be right back.